to the July 1st meeting.
Second.
July 2nd meeting. Nikki?
Okay, let's everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 16th, 2018 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay. A second?
I'll second.
Yeah, I can call roll. I guess we can do all in favor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the first case on the agenda is a sign variance for 1119 East High Street, Pools Dairy Queen. Brian, I'll let you give a little bit of background on this.
Okay, we'll scroll through here. We have an aerial photograph. We were presented with a request to add a billboard on the site adjacent to Pools Dairy Queen. This used to be the former Wendy's site. Wendy's lot was split and sold into two pieces. So this is actually, the eastern part actually went to Allied Molded, which I'm highlighting with my mouse here, and the western part is basically merged with the Pools Dairy Queen site. So we have a request in the grass on the front corner here for such a billboard. Now I'm going to scroll to the next page, and there's some information on the sign itself. It will look something like this: steel post, I believe, for the base, signs on both sides, 32 feet tall, and the face is, let's see, 20 foot tall. So I'm assuming that 20 foot goes, oh no, excuse me, it's V'd on the side. I'm sorry, it's V'd on the side. So the face would be 20 foot wide and 8 foot tall sign. And then the whole thing would be 32 feet tall itself. I believe we have representatives here. If you want to come up to the podium there and say anything about the project, feel free to.
Sure. Please state your name and who you're with.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Justin Powell. I am the owner of Huntington Outdoor Advertising. We're based out of Greenville.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Sure. Powell.
Okay, so basically some more history on this. In this particular site, as you can see on your notes here, this is prohibited in that area because the advertising for product service is not performed on the premises. We have notations that state that. Setback variances as well, basically side and front yard. We're assuming this is a structure, so we would treat this the same as a structure or a sign as well. So we would have to look at a setback variance. Height variance as well, they would be looking at, because this lot is currently zoned multi-use. So a sign height is 12 foot tall, unless they ask for a variance. Now, of course, the current sign for Dairy Queen is taller than that, but they had asked for a variance as well when they did their site plan review. And then the size is a maximum of 320 square feet. And they're only allowed 40 square feet in the MU district. So there's multiple variances they're asking for. Basically, long story short, they're just asking to put the large billboard in and allow us to do that for their purposes for advertising and whatnot for businesses throughout the city and adjacent areas.
Mr. Powell, did you have anything you wanted to add to
Yeah,
that?
thanks. So what we can do is we can, if you know, I know the side, I think it's the side we need a variance for, not the front, I think.
I believe so. Again,
We can move it, believe we can move it over a little bit if we need to meet that side variant or the side requirements. And then as for, you know, kind of what we do, I started the company about 7 years ago. We have 400 billboards kind of all over Ohio. We actually have 6 in Williams County, 2 on Route 15, 1 at right up there, 20 and 28 at I think Schaefer's gas station. We put 1 up there, 1 in Montpelier, then some in Edgerton, near Edgerton on Route 6. We've had incredible response from local businesses, basically is what we advertise. So that's what we're looking to do here. We're looking to put a billboard on Route 2. This is a good spot. There's no residential in the area. It's all business. This is a vacant lot with a grass section where it wouldn't be in anybody's way as far as people driving in and out. It wouldn't be, and it sets up, the reason we set it up a little bit higher is there's a 15-foot clearance to the bottom of the sign, and the reason we do that is that way it doesn't block traffic. You know, as people are pulling out, people are pulling in, it doesn't block any visibility. We put these things all over the place. We really don't have that much, we have never had really any complaints. Metal structures, they look great, and it'll advertise local businesses. So that's what we do.
How many of those that you just listed in Williams County are actually inside the village or city limits?
None, ma'am. That's
Okay.
why we're here. Yeah, that's why we're here. So like,
I guess
yeah,
that's kind of my point. This is a gateway into our town, and we are trying to work on making things look better. So
Sure.
putting it inside the city limits, for me at least, makes me question the variance request.
I'm sorry, say it again.
It makes me question whether or not to grant the variance request.
Sure, because I'm
Because it's inside the city limits.
And-
I mean, if you're on a state route and you're driving down a state route, there's cornfields everywhere, it's not as big of a deal as
Sure.
if it's inside.
sure. Yeah, and so
City limits
I'm
where
assuming
your
you're.
structures are lower, everything's
Yeah,
visually different.
so what you're saying is billboards aren't what you envision. Is that
Not
what you're saying? Okay,
residential,
got it.
no.
Okay, got it.
And the other part of that is the reason the billboards are so loud, or I'm sorry, large, is because you're driving 55, 60 miles an hour.
Correct, yep.
You have to see it quicker than if you're in a 35 or 25, which is what you're proposing here.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Does anyone from the board have questions for Mr. Powell?
So the only thing else I would add is your guys' current zoning code is not legal. It's unconstitutional because you guys don't allow any space in the entire city for a billboard, and that's not allowed. So what I'm coming to you guys is and asking you is for a variance because you don't allow them anywhere in the city. It's a Second Amendment issue because you have to have space for this stuff to go. There's nowhere in the city variant or code where it allows it. And because of that, I was like, well, the best place would probably be here. So that's what I was just gonna add.
I will add that it's not that we don't allow signs.
No, it's billboards.
smaller.
It's
Correct.
specifically billboards you guys don't allow. And that's
Correct. Have you-
unconstitutional.
Okay, okay, I'm not gonna argue that point with you, but
Sure.
are you gonna go to Montpelier and do the same thing next, or West Unity, because they all have the same?
No, I already have signs up there.
But not
In
in
the
the village
village.
limits.
I already talked to West Unity. They say absolutely go for it. We already got a permit.
I'll make sure we'll call our village,
That's fine.
our village administrator.
Yeah, I mean, if, we have a couple options here, we can do some further discussion, or we could have a motion to place this on the table until we can do some further review as far as requirements. If there's a claim there that, we are not conforming to some certain law, and we can get with our legal representatives and talk, so.
I'll make a motion to do that. I'll make a motion to table the request until we can speak with our law director.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Carrie. All right, we have a motion and a second to table the sign variance so we can do some further legal review. Call roll. Marv?
Not here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Sorry, Barney.
Yes.
All right, Jerry?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Mayor?
Yes.
And Tyson?
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. The item will be tabled pending further review.
Great. And if your legal counsel needs course cases, my lawyers are more than happy to send them to them.
I'm sure she'll be fine, but thank you.
Okay, that motion is tabled.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Didn't we
Yep,
just
we're-
get threatened?
We were
Yes, we
just
did.
threatened. Yeah, it's fine. Not in a
Okay.
crazy way.
Because that's what lawyers are for.
The next request on the agenda is the conditional use approval for 1420 West High Street for McKeon Real Estate Investments LLC. Brian?
Sir, hold on. We need his name as well since he
Yeah,
was
he-
here.
My name's Brad Carpenter.
Brad Carpenter, and are you with the same company?
Yes.
And what is your role?
I do leasing.
Leasing? All right, thank you. Have a good day, gentlemen. You got it?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. McCann came in several weeks ago, and he said he wanted to expand his business a little bit. And again, if I misspeak something, feel free. We'll have you come up here and come to the podium a little bit. But he said he wanted to entertain the idea of selling some sheds, expanding his business into different avenues. And he had given us a sketch of where he thought he could maybe put some of these sheds, and Andy and I talked about it, and it's not really a conforming use, but we also understand how someone might want to expand their business into doing something a little bit different. And he had given us a sketch of where some of these sheds could be placed at, out back in the front, and just if you're having trouble with the map, this would be Town Line Road extended on 34, and then High Street is down below here on the bottom. He's got a Circle Drive entrance there. Now, what he's looking for is outdoor sales and display of sheds and storage buildings. And there's a section in the code that discusses this, and it is not necessarily permitted. If it is permitted, it must be in like a fenced-in area and so forth if you review the code. So we were mixed on it, but it wasn't our decision to make because we would have to come to Planning Commission. So we advised him to, if he's interested to pursue this any further, to come to the Planning Commission as well and discuss this as a variance request to allow for outdoor sales and displays. So,
Does anyone on the board have questions regarding this request? Or comments, I guess?
Do you have any idea how many? Because this looks like
That's a lot.
several, and initially it was indicated there would be a few.
Those are just where I have little drawings, we're just kind of an area for Andy. We're probably talking 15 maybe, 15 to 20 total. There's probably 30 there. But I was just kind of giving an idea where we could, places we could put them.
I apologize, Andy's off sick today, so if there's any conversations he had with you, feel free to share those with us because I wasn't privy to all of them.
Yeah, there's 29 on there, and you're saying 15 to 20?
Yeah,
I
like I
think-
said, I was just drawing.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't even know how many I put up, but, so it's just an idea of what we could do. I know the ones in front, Andy said those are pretty much a no
Yeah.
because of, I guess if I could get a clarification, is it green space or because it is in the front of the building, not on cement or asphalt?
Well, it's also a corner lot. so
Well,
it's got two front.
it's probably within setback lines, even though these aren't permanent structures, that there's building setbacks that we have to adhere to, and I don't have the numbers handy, but I know you're not zoned with the zero setback, so we would treat these temporary sheds the same as permanent sheds because of the reasons there, because of visibility and so forth. And I understand you're starting to go up the hill here, so the vision's not as bad, but that would more or less probably just deal with the setback as
Is
well.
where they're at on that drawing, or that would include anything in the grass area?
I'm thinking out in the front is the biggest thing.
Okay. Because he had also mentioned something about green space and taking up, that one I was a little foggy on.
I know in the industrial areas, there's a certain percentage of the lot that must remain green and undeveloped, so you could fall under that same zoning criteria there that, I'm going from memory, but I think it's like 60% or something, that there's a certain amount there that they have to remain green and not developed for stormwater runoff and filtration and so on.
Just a little background on that. It's basically, we were looking for some new revenue streams, and I came across this. It's a company called Lakeside Cabins and Sheds. And they're out of Shiloh, Ohio. And that's all they do is buildings, storage building sheds, that sort of thing. They have 26 dealers in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and West Virginia.
Wow.
So they're kind of spread out. The majority of them are in Ohio. There's 3 up in Toledo, and then farther east you go, there's some more. They have 5 manufacturing facilities near Ashland.
and they're just opening a new one up in the middle part of Michigan to service that area.
But I'm going from memory here, but I think you and Andy had discussed that you felt there was a need for this in the city because there is no place local.
There is
in
no
Bryan.
place. There's a place in Defiance, there's a place in Napoleon, but there's nothing in Bryan or any place else. The nearest one of these, he has one up on Territorial Road in Camden
Okay,
at an archery place. I remember seeing him driving by.
gotcha.
But they were looking for a place that there wasn't any other, anything selling like that. And Northwest Ohio was one of the areas they were looking at. And I've talked to them, been their facility, and we just thought we had some space that we're not using. We thought if we could turn that into some revenue, that we would see how that would go.
Sure.
Is there any way we could get them all on the back lot?
That's what I was gonna ask. Is there a way to get them all so that they're in?
We could, but I think that will probably, they would take it off the table because their experience shows that the closer to the road, the better sales you have.
Right.
Because they know, if they're in my back lot, people can't see them.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it's your own personal storage.
Right. And he was really pushing for the front yard, and I explained to him that probably wasn't going to happen.
Right.
When we said we could go along the drive, Andy said we should be good along the drive and on the blacktop area right there, just west of the building,
Right.
and then some in back. The ones in back are more for just added examples of what they can do.
Right.
And I did put some along the east side there, just to put some along that, because there was some empty space there. So that's basically why I penciled those in. So if you say they have to be in the back lot, it probably won't happen. Just because he feels, the owner, he's been out here, looked at what we had. He just doesn't think if we can't have them at least there at the side, there's not enough visibility to
Would there be a way, like if you took, this is the building right here, right? Is
Yes.
this gonna be part of the building too?
That's the building itself. Yes, correct.
So if you line
Yeah,
up,
that's the building.
okay, so you're not coming any farther forward than the building, I guess is what it is.
Not with those over here, but over here on the side,
Yeah, I
adjacent.
kinda, like, not those, but
Right.
these over here.
yeah, those line up pretty much. They may come out a little bit farther than the building, depending on what size we would put in there.
But not much. I mean, the face of your building, I know that's where you walk in right there, so I know that would be
Yeah.
the front face. And I don't know if your building makes a jog or not, but it's,
It does a little bit,
right,
but, well. I
not
guess
much.
Not much.
It's tough
no.
to tell in that sketch.
Yeah. Yeah, those are bushes right there, I think, where your
Right, yep,
cursor's
correct,
at. So,
correct.
yeah, it's a pretty straight shot across.
And I think Andy said the same thing as, like you discussed over here on the edge with the large hill going up there. It's not a vision problem. And again, he couldn't speak for the planning commission, but he said he thought it wasn't necessarily a vision problem there, just because of the height differential of
Right.
going up the viaduct there as well.
The only thing he was, and I was concerned, the reason I called was, I know there's a right-of-way there for the city to get back there. And he didn't see, if we put them near the sidewalk, there should be plenty of room to drive behind that to get back to the poles or whatever they need to
Right.
get to.
Yeah, because if you're able to access your back lot there as well, then the city's able to as well.
Right.
The thing that gets me, if you look at section 1161.07X, it violates 7 of the 8 or 9
Well, and
sections.
And that's why Andrew had stated that. He says, make sure we review that section. So, you can feel free to speak those out loud if you want. I have no issue with it.
I'm not gonna go down through every one of them.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't comply at all.
What does it violate, I guess?
Well, the first one here, if I gotta just briefly go through, this business has got nothing to do with your business.
Right.
Selling the sheds, and that was one of the requirements. Second is about the side yards and rear yards only. The next one is, has to do with display, I don't know what that is. No outdoor display shall be permitted to occupy or interfere with traffic circulation, which that may or may not be a problem. And then it goes about a front wall of the building where it has to be set. No signs to be permitted to the outdoor display, except otherwise in compliance with the sign regulations. So I'm assuming that means you can't put a sign up for them sheds when you have a sign up
Right.
for
Right.
the business, right?
Right, kind of what we went through with the previous thing. You're only allowed the sign for that business itself.
And that's pretty much it, but I mean, everything there is against what he wants to do.
Right. And I think Andy discussed that with him, that, it's not part of his primary business, but, we applaud him for looking at other avenues, to expand their business as well.
Well,
And
I understand that,
But they're not
our
related.
variances should be
Exactly.
because of hardship cases,
Right.
not because just somebody wants to do something that's not in the books,
Correct.
in my opinion.
So I guess my question, how do we expand our business if it has to be related to
If there's a
everything we
problem
do?
with this, then we need to rewrite this. I guess that's my thought. If it doesn't work out for everybody, we need to redo it and get it so it will.
I mean, because we do a lot of things within that business. I mean, the majority of them are related to cleaning, but
And it's mostly, anything visible would be internal. I mean, it's inside your shop. Or it's in the back where those trucks are.
And this is a completely different retail sales. I mean, it's not related to what you do.
well, what about across the street Sears rents U-Hauls? That doesn't have anything to do with their business.
But maybe that's how it was established and it's allowed in the zoning code. I mean, I don't have the zoning code memorized in front of me, but
And the carpet place out here east of town does the same thing. I mean, in my mind, renting U-Hauls doesn't have anything to do with selling carpet.
I'll agree with you.
it may be allowed though in
In
the
that
zoning
zoning.
code without a conditional use requirement,
Depending on how they're zoned.
depending on how it's zoned.
I don't know if they're zoned MU or C, or I
mean,
don't, but it's something we'll look
definitely.
into to see if they are having a violation of it.
So what am I zoned as?
Anybody have a map there, Andy? I
I can't.
think Barney's got one.
Barney, can you borrow your map?
Yeah, I don't know. if
I'll pass that down here, we'll take a look at it. Okay, purple, your zone neighborhood commercial right now. And,
What's Sears across the street?
green. I'm sorry, your general commercial, their neighborhood commercial, C1 and C2. So there might be some difference between those two. And then the carpet place is actually zoned I1, light industrial. No, I'm sorry, that's purple as well. That's general commercial. So they're zoned the same as you are. I'm sorry. The carpet place on Union Street has the same zoning as what you do. Correct.
So we need to look into that.
Yeah,
business.
yeah, we'll have to have Andy look into that and see if that is applicable or not.
He has a large enough area out there, that it wouldn't interfere with anything.
But what about signage? Isn't Lakeside gonna want some signs?
Yeah, they did say something about they could put like a sign on one of the buildings in front when we were talking about in front, but I would imagine they'd want some sort of signage.
Right, and that also doesn't conform.
Right, so you would have to come back in possibly for a variance on your sign.
Because you didn't request that in this.
What about, okay, even if we don't have signage, if we have something inside,
No, inside's fine. Yeah, it's just,
it can't advertise the other business, is that what it is?
Inside you can, outside you cannot. It's
There's only
similar
so
to
much
even this
allowed.
billboard conversation, putting banners on the back of that shed saying Lakeside Cabins or whatever, it would be in violation as well.
What if we just had one that had our phone number?
Had one what?
Had our phone number?
Had what? A sign?
sign.
or
A sign
banner?
on a building that had our phone number. to call.
It's still a
It's
sign,
still
you're only
their
allowed so
name.
much sign space on your
Okay.
property. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak to this case?
Mike, I'm sorry, we're gonna need you guys to switch so that you
Okay.
come to the podium, sorry. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm Mark Pittman. I'm with the Pregnancy Center and the CPC Women's Health Resource, which is to the right. The four there would be, certainly I don't want to infringe on anybody's ability to earn a respectable income and diversify their income sources. My concern is just related to those particular
The four.
sheds in light of proximity to our location. And there's, for your reference, along the line there is a parking lot. It's a parking lot and then, of course, the facility. My preference would not necessarily to have those four be there. The rest of it I don't have an issue with at all. And I may not have an issue with the four. I just thinking there's not a whole lot of space there. I'm not sure how close they would be. I don't know that would infringe, frankly, on anybody who's pulling into our lot to get out because they're going to go the other direction. So that's the only thing I would have an issue with.
So Mark,
And it's not even really that much of an issue per se, so.
is there
There
a,
are only two that were behind where the building is, like the first two would be gone, the other two
Can you-
would be back a little farther.
can I don't know what you're talking about, sorry, I can't see you through the pillar. If there were only two what?
Where I have four buildings, he had some issues with those four.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if there was only two there and they were back farther behind
Sure,
the front of the
sure.
building,
Yeah.
that would make.
Yeah, and that's helpful. What I heard you say earlier, and maybe I'm mistaken on it, is that what you did in terms of the format was just a temporary or a what-if scenario.
This is how many I can squeeze on the lot.
Right. So 4 in my mind could go to 6 or 8 if I can get them on there and business is going well. That would be my concern of whatever that would look like could exacerbate, could get bigger. I don't know that would necessarily, but the door is open for that potential. So if it's a couple and they're further back, again, I don't have any issue with that. Again, I'm just articulating what would be a concern. Maybe that's not materialized or that would never happen, but.
Businesses.
Yeah, the other thing I want to ask, Mr. Pittman, is there any way that these people are going to end up on your parking lot? As far as, I mean, if we put them there, is
Yeah,
it
it's a good
easier for
question.
them to pull into your parking lot and walk across the way?
I don't know the answer to that because I would have to go through, and I guess this is part of the assessment, how large those sheds are. I mean, relative to the size that's there, but it's certainly possible.
Because that then creates another issue for his quiet enjoyment of business use, and we've actually seen it in a different village where someone moved in and is now using other people's parking space for their customers without permission, and it's become a big feud. And so I want to make sure and the common response to this person is, well, I can't tell my customers where to park, they just chose to park there, which can be a response at times. So for me, those four there cause an issue just because it makes it easier for them to go to your lot where they don't have to worry about the U-turn, where they don't have to back out in front of things and just walk across the grass to go check out those cabins, which then causes an issue for CPC. Fair?
Yeah, I
Okay.
understand
Yeah, fine.
Well, I don't know if we need any further legal review from our prosecutor on this, as far as, the claims that there's other businesses in town that might be doing something similar. I mean, we've got a couple options here. I mean, I really don't want to table it, but it's something that, should we consider tabling this pending some further review? Or should we consider some hardship here? His hardship being, the business may not be performing as, I don't want to say performing well, but he's looking into different options to increase his business and increase his income. I'm thinking that could be construed as a hardship for him as well.
Can we table this pending, like, maybe a discussion on a better layout with the site, with the setbacks and where they actually should be, you know what I mean? Versus just having it, like, I wouldn't want to see those four on that site at all. I'm looking at those along the edge and
And
in
the
the
three in the
back,
front.
and
Right.
that's probably it.
Well, I know these sheds on the side, I apologize for not having an aerial that's larger, but I know the front face of the building next door is closer to the road here than what these sheds would be. So these would be for sure behind the adjacent building face, but
I
I know
guess
we
my
talk
con-
about on our site as well, you know, things need to be behind the face of the building and
Right,
so forth.
and my
So-
concern's also, I don't wanna see them littered all over the property. I wanna see them kind of confined to an area. Cause then it becomes, I don't want it to look junky. I mean, this is a gateway into the city. And I know you're trying to find other avenues, but at the same time, I'm trying to make sure that it continues to look nice.
Well, I
when
wouldn't
people
want it to
drive
look junky and crappy on my property either.
in. Okay, but I mean,
it would be.
you start to put 30 buildings around there and it kind of
Again,
starts to
that
look like
was
that.
to show where the possibility they could go.
Sure.
Right.
But
I mean,
I
we
mean,
could.
we need to look at how many we could actually limit it to. Is
We-
it
we could
15?
ask-
Is it?
We could ask for some further information such as, you know, maybe some pictures of what
Yeah.
some of these might look like. Because I know I've seen some of the cabins are actually pretty neat.
Some of them are
You know, they
neat.
actually have
Some of them
cabins that they
aren't.
can bring in that, you know, people can stay in and, you know, that would be great if that's the case, but.
But they're also pretty large. too.
Right,
Yeah.
but Planning Commission maybe had a little more information on that as well.
I think so too.
I mean, that's completely up to the commission here, how they want to do that.
Because I would like to see it limited to a certain number and setback within a certain area. And, you know, I would like to see what these are gonna look like, honestly.
Or if you're gonna limit sheds versus cabins,
Right.
because
The
I'm gonna
size.
assume that you can get 4 or 5 sheds in place of one cabin on some
Yeah.
of them. And so if we're having really large cabins here,
Well, they still have to go down the road, so they can't be more than probably 12 feet wide, I would assume,
Yeah.
without an oversized permit, so.
they have
Almost like
various
one and a half.
sizes. I'd have to get on and see.
yeah.
Right, exactly.
We hadn't talked about what sizes, but most of them, what I've seen are the smaller sizes.
10 by
And then
12s,
they-
10 by 16s, 10 by
And then
20s.
they have the information on the larger ones if people are interested.
Right.
And then I think that also, if we table it, it also gives you the ability to work out the signage part with,
See what signage
you know,
the
maybe you
supplier
need to
needs.
change your custom cleaner
variance
sign,
request.
you know what I mean? Maybe it needs some reworks, however that is.
If we changed our signs that we have up and added,
You would have to get a sign variance for that, though.
Well,
Request, right?
I
Well,
don't
if they're
think so.
within the amount of, if they're within the size of the sign allowed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think they could put custom cleaners and put what they
and
do
put-
underneath there,
right, on one sign.
because it would all be part of the primary
Right.
business, but we don't necessarily like to see 3, 4, 5 different signs around a site
Right.
like that. I think that's what the code tries to say is, you know, it specifically says you can only advertise for the business that's there.
Right, right.
And if he has sheds as part of his business, that's fine, he can talk about sheds, but he can't advertise another phone number, another business
Right,
name.
right.
You know, yeah, so I think that's what the point is there. But yeah, I mean, that's our options. We can either act on it or we can table it and request more information and possibly Mike and Andy could work out a little bit better site plan.
That would help.
Maybe more to scale with the size
Right.
of these units on there because, you know, I mean, you look at some of these, I don't know exactly how much room he has clear between the driveway and the right of way there. So, I mean, it looks about like the width of the drive, so I would assume 10 to 12 feet, but, you know, then we could lay out and say, well, we get the maximum size shed we could put in would be a 12-foot long one here, so it doesn't impede the vehicular traffic, which is one thing that,
Right.
that Jerry had mentioned, that it says, you know, the code says you can't impede the vehicular traffic on site, so, you know, maybe if we did get a little clearer site plan and a little bit better vision of what some of these units are, and again, Andy's more than willing to help you out with that, you know, he can work on that and help you out, so you don't need to spend any money trying to do that, we're more than willing to do that, so that is an option for the commission as well.
One
Alright.
question I have to you real quick before you do that, was there ever a time when you spoke to Andy that it was less than 15 to 20 sheds?
I don't, when we first started the conversation, and he asked me to get this on where I was thinking the sheds could go, and so I just put places that, like I said, when I talked to the owner of Lakeside, he was probably thinking 15, maybe 20 at tops.
Okay, because at one point I heard 5 or 6, and then I got this map and said, well, that's certainly more than 5 or 6.
No, I don't think we ever talked about that
Okay.
few.
I make a motion that we table this request for further review.
All right, is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
right, motion by Nikki, second by Tyson to table this item pending further information request and further review. I'll call a roll. Barney?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
I'll concur. Mayor?
Yes.
And Tyson?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll get with Andrew when he gets back from his sick leave. He's off today, and we'll communicate with you on what, a little bit more information we need.
What kind of time frame are we looking at? I mean, is this gonna be another month to bring it?
No, I'm hoping we can actually get this worked out this week, and then we'll just have to re-advertise for the meeting, which I think is a 10-day notice in there, so, should be within the next couple weeks. I mean, we're not gonna drag it out another month. We'll hold a
So
special
it will be,
meeting.
because he said meetings are monthly?
Meetings are
So
monthly,
we-
but-
We can be flexible with that,
We'll-
but Mr. Pittman, you'll get re-notified.
Yeah,
when
we'll
that
set a
happens.
special meeting
Thanks.
Okay.
once we get our information for you, so it doesn't have to wait until the first meeting in August.
Okay,
We will do that.
all right, thank you.
Which might be helpful for me, for council.
Right.
Today was a little rough because they wanted to get it on council agenda and I had already
Okay.
published those in the paper.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I have nothing further as far as agenda items, Nikki.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns? Sorry. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
Motion by Carrie, second by Jerry to adjourn. Barney?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yep.
I'll concur. Mayor? And Tyson?
Yes.
All right,